Welcome to Talent Freaks with Andy Coon. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. This podcast delves into the journeys of creative individuals who inspire curiosity and impact through their work. In this episode, we're revisiting a conversation from 2012 with my friend Nic Beery, a talented filmmaker based in the Raleigh-Durham area of North Carolina, and a part of my circle of talented filmmakers that would always reach out and help no matter what the cause was. I greatly miss my filmmaking friends from North Carolina. Nic's journey from being a Ringling Brothers circus clown to a respected filmmaker is both unique and inspiring. His films have been showcased in over 100 festivals worldwide, earning numerous awards and accolades. As the owner of BeeryMedia.com and founder of the Carrboro Film Festival, Nic continues to make significant contributions to the film community. When I think back about Nic, working with him on a few projects, he was always insightful, he was kind and generous, and he listened, and someone who, with his experience in the film production world, just was very humbling to meet him and to work with him and to learn from him. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe and rate Talent Freaks on your favorite podcast platform. It helps others discover these inspiring stories, and I'm incredibly grateful for it. So I am so glad that we can jump back to 2012 and I could reintroduce Nic Beery with the younger version of myself to this audience. Now, Nic and I have gone back. He's a North Carolina filmmaker in the Raleigh-Durham area. I've worked with him a couple times in different projects, and he also has come along and helped us out. When I say us, Blake and myself and All Aces Media, he's come aboard and shot for us and helped us with Often Awesome. So I wanted to get in touch with Nic and talk to him about his unique background and how it moved forward with his career. Now check this out. Nic is a former Ringling Brothers circus clown. Yeah, he now prefers to be behind the camera. His films have been in over 100 festivals, from Cannes to New York City, and have won numerous awards, including a recent Emmy nomination and a 2009 Indie Arts Award winner for the North Carolina publication, The Independent. Nic is the owner of BeeryMedia.com, a boutique video production company in Carrboro, North Carolina, and founder of the Carrboro Film Festival. He has his hands in everything. He does not stop shooting. He does high-quality work. If you've never heard of Nic Beery, please check out his website, which is BeeryMedia.com. And look for one of my favorite films of his. It's called Ben Pickle. And he keeps making great films. So let's jump into the conversation. And let me introduce you to Nic Beery. So how did you, I was watching, what is the title of your documentary that you sent me?
Sayonara to Hello.
Sayonara to Hello. And this is about a personal friend of yours.
Yep, this is about a friend of mine I was in the circus with back in 1984.
That's so, that was one of the interesting things about this when I started watching it is I got to learn more about you and, where you came from. And that is so interesting that, you're a filmmaker and a very well-respected filmmaker. I love the movies that you create. And you come from the circus. You're a clown. How did you get into, I just want to start there. It's like, how did you get into that?
Into clowning?
Yeah.
If that's the question, it's an interesting story. Well, I was always the class clown as well as the AV geek. So you can kind of see where, I can clearly see where I am now into filmmaking as well as the silliness and the fantastical elements that I put into my movies. But I graduated high school. I worked at Busch Gardens, Williamsburg, Virginia for 2 summers as a costume character. And I had an opportunity to audition when the circus came to the Richmond area to audition for this thing called Clown College. And I never knew that Ringling Brothers had a clown college. So, on a whim, a buddy of mine and myself went down there, auditioned. We got pulled aside by the boss clown. I didn't know there was a boss clown. And he said, I'm going to recommend you to the owners of the circus to attend Clown College. And so a couple months later, I'm back at Busch Gardens in the summer, and I'm Gordon the Dragon. And between shifts out there in the old country, I got a phone call from the dean of Clown College, and he invited me to come on down in September to Venice, Florida, to spend 10 and a half weeks learning how to become a clown.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
how many clowns are there in the circus at one time?
Well, the interesting thing about let me back up just briefly.
Sure.
Clown College auditions over 2,000 people every year,
Wow.
and they accept 50.
Wow.
I don't take that lightly. I'm honored that I was selected to not only go to Clown College, but then eventually tour on the road.
Yeah.
And so your specific question, Andy, there are at the time I was in the circus, there were two units of Ringling Brothers, a red unit and a blue unit, and each unit had 25 clowns.
Wow. So there's 50 clowns total in the whole Ringling Brothers, and
That's right.
so you said like 50 got accepted from the clown college,
Uh,
or to the clown college.
Go to Clown College, and then they hired about 12 or 13 of us.
So what happens if you're not hired as a clown coming out of clown college?
Well, there's lots of options. It's interesting because there are people sniffing around, people from other circuses on the day that they are doing contracts, which is the last day of Clown College. And if they see a glum face from one of these students, they come over and say, "Hey, do you want to be on the Clyde Beatty show? Or do you want to be on another circus that's what we call a mud show, which is one that travels overland with trailers and RVs?"
Wow.
Because I lived on a train for 2 years. The Ringling Circus actually moves by a mile-long train from town to town.
Now, how was that that part of your life? What was that like? I mean, is that one of those like you just reminisce and go, "That was so much fun"?
Oh, now I do.
Not while you're doing it.
Look, I smelled like a llama and an elephant for 2 years. Okay? My clothes were always dirty. I ate extremely poorly. There were 200 males in the circus and maybe 30 females. It was very hard to meet and get dates. So there's a lot of challenges. But at the very same time, I equate it to living like in a frat house when you're in the circus. I mean, I made friends that I still talk to this day and are the closest friends that I have. The memories we had going from basketball arena to basketball arena, the people we were fortunate to meet that were celebrities as well as people that were just awesome from town to town, is something I will never forget, and it helped shape who I am today.
That's awesome. And that's how you got into, like, was this documentary, how did you start this documentary, or what sparked that for you?
Well, it was a multitude of things, actually. I knew over the years that I was going to eventually make some kind of story about my life as a circus clown. But being who I am now, a guy that really prefers to be behind the camera, I didn't want the focus to be solely on me. So when my friend Steve Marshall, who lives in Tokyo, Japan, called me and said, "Listen, I'm having a really terrible time here in Japan. There was an earthquake in March of 2010. There was then an ensuing tsunami and a nuclear challenge. Still not sure what's going on there with their nuclear reactors." He said, "Nobody's going out to see live entertainment. And it's already hard. You can imagine working performers nowadays compared to the days of vaudeville, 50, 60 years ago. There's a lot less of that happening with live performers." So he said, "I think I'm going to come back to America and do a lecture tour around the country to people to magic clubs. And I'll teach them magic tricks that I've learned from great Japanese magicians." And he said, "I think I'm going to videotape it." And that's really where the idea came from. It started from that idea of me wanting to do something about my time in the circus, but not focus on me. And the fact that Steve's coming back to America and he's going to travel the almost exact same route that we traveled when we were clowns together in the circus.
So he did most of the filming on the road?
I did.
You did?
Yeah, no, we took the idea of him saying, "I think I'm going to take a video camera and videotape it," and we put it on steroids. And we did a Kickstarter campaign. We raised $10,000. We were able to go on the road for a solid month with one other person, Billy Scadlock, who's also a former Ringling clown. And the three of us traveled in a minivan, stayed in Motel 6s, and not only documented the lecture tour and talked about our memories of the old days, but also met up with old circus friends and clowns that we've known for all these years.
Man, that's another moment in your life that you're just going to be like, that was another great time. That just sounds like a great time.
It was, and I don't know. As you get older, at least as I get older, I'm pushing 50 now. That I'm thinking I'm a little bit nostalgic right now, and I don't want to live my life in the past, but I want to celebrate it.
Yeah.
And part of this film is also the fact that Steve never stopped performing. He clowns, he does TV commercials. He was the face of McDonald's. He's done a Scotch whiskey commercial. He's done IKEA commercials, and he still does magic, of course. So I wanted to present that he's living his dream, and it's hard. But if you really want to, you can live your dream and make it happen, and you absolutely should.
Yeah.
If anybody walks away with any feeling from this film, it's hopefully one of inspiration, that even though you may have gone down a track because of responsibility, family, mortgage, whatever, that's important. You should do that. But if you stopped playing that guitar, or if you stopped singing, or if you stopped juggling, you should go back and do that, at least as a hobby. And that's what I want people to remember and get out of this film.
That's that's interesting you touched on that, because I'm at a point right now where, like, I've been in Charleston for the past year, and I'm having a real hard time like meeting people, professionals in my field. It's interesting that the contrast between South Carolina and North Carolina. North Carolina, they're very open and vocal about being filmmakers, and a pretty good community. Here it's more hidden. There are a lot of professionals around here, but they're not out there going like, meetup clubs or even filmmaker groups or anything like that. It's kind of like out in the woodworks. And go ahead.
And I had that same experience in Washington, D.C. until I moved here in 2005, down here to North Carolina. It was hard to get anybody off their couch on the weekend. They wanted to watch the ball game instead of help make a film. Yeah.
And it's interesting because there are a few like highly talented people that I know around here that just, they do amazing work at their job, and I want to continue doing some stuff with them outside. And they're like, I know what you're trying to do, and my head says yes, but my heart says no, or maybe the other way around. The heart says yes, and the head says no. But it's, and I'm not going to say it hurts me, but it's like that's how you really build like bonds and friendships with other people, working with them, collaborating. And I really got to learn that when I started working with, yourself, and also with Todd and Micah and Blake and Steven and like Jason, just all those filmmakers in North Carolina. And it's hard, man. And here's the thing. It's like I moved, and what you were saying about, you have to file the mortgage and other things. Like that's the reason why I'm in Charleston, is because I had no job, I had no income, and it's hard. I know going straight from a 40-hour week to freelance, because I did that 2 years ago, is really difficult. It takes time to build up that clientele. So it's like, shit, I need to get work so I don't go bankrupt, my house doesn't foreclose, and just so.
It's true. You got to take care of the most important things first, but you've got to put into the equation your passion. And if you don't, then what's life all about? I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. I miss my friends. I have a girlfriend still in North Carolina. My brother's in North Carolina. I really enjoy Charleston. It's a beautiful city, great events, and the job that I work at is so supportive and a really great place to work. I mean, it's unlike any other place I've ever worked, but there's a lot about North Carolina that I miss, and I feel like I'm missing out on a lot of creative projects that I would really enjoy being a part of.
I hear you, man. We're very fortunate and lucky to have what we have here in North Carolina. I don't know how it started, but you're right. I mean, I could pick up the phone and talk to one of 10 or 12 people, and they'd be working on something really fun, and I can participate, or they would be willing to help me with my project.
And that goes into and we'll get back to your documentary, but that goes into one of your films that I really enjoyed, was that kids film.
Ben Pickle?
Ben Pickle. I had so much fun watching that, and I could see how that would be like a crowd favorite.
It is. It's amazing. It's one of those films that really blossoms when you're watching it with an audience. There's nothing more rewarding, Andy, for me than being in the back of a room when someone's watching your film and an audience is watching your film and they're responding so positively, laughing, screaming, applauding, cheering. I mean, I'm not joking. I am not into awards. That is the award.
Right.
Seated with an audience of 200 or so, and they don't know who I am. They're not my friends. They're just people that are watching a film they never saw before. And I'm like, I got that reaction from that film on many occasions because it was in a lot of festivals. And I'm like, man, this is it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Now, how many festivals have you been in total?
60 or so.
Wow.
Yeah, I've done about 12 or 15 shorts, and this is my first feature, and it's got accepted. Just found out it's going to be in 2 festivals, one in Tennessee and one in North Carolina in September and then November. So it's starting its festival run now.
Now, how often do you attend the festivals that you get in?
Yeah, probably a third of the time because, it's almost as expensive to go to the festival as it to make a film.
Yeah.
I mean, I went down to Sarasota, which is the largest festival I've ever been in, a 10-day festival, 25,000 people attended, lots of celebrities, and it was a great festival. I mean, my film has never looked better on a 60-foot screen,
Wow.
A digital HD projection, and it's just, oh God, it felt so great. But all told, I went with an editor friend of mine who helped on the film that was in down there, and we were there for 3 or 4 days. You're looking at $200 a night for a hotel room. You're looking at airfare. You're looking at food. You got to get a tattoo while you're down there.
Exactly.
So it adds up quickly. So I can't go to all of them, but I would love to, and it's heartbreaking when I get accepted to ones that I can't go to, but I just can't physically. And also when I'm away for a week, let's be honest, I'm a freelancer.
Yeah.
When I'm away for a week, even if it's only costing me a few $100s, I'm giving up maybe $1,000 or more in work that I can't do back home.
Yep. I totally understand that. And I'm very fortunate, where I work right now because they gave me a couple days off. Well, actually I had to use vacation days, but I was still getting paid for that when I went up to New York for the Webby Awards and Vimeo.
Yeah, man, that is so awesome. And I bet you wouldn't have not gone, right?
Well, yeah, there's no way I could have gone if I didn't have that. I mean, and I'm very fortunate too that we have such a strong community in the Often Awesome where they donated money to help on some of the expenses. I mean, they donated money for us to get into the festival, and then we had a little bit extra, so it helped with hotel or travel expenses, but not enough. Still I had to pay for airfare. And
yeah, man, but that is congratulations on winning that best web series. That well deserved, definitely.
Thank you so much. And Vimeo, man, that was such a great experience, and I'm so glad I went. And I was hesitant in going to the Vimeo Awards because I had such a miserable experience at the Webby Awards.
Oh, really?
It was interesting because they wanted everybody to do a 5-word speech, your acceptance speech, 5 words, and they wanted me to come in on a Sunday to do my 5-word speech to record it. And I was coming up on Monday, so I couldn't do it. So I asked them, I said, hey, can I just send you guys a video clip? Just tell me what you need. And they go, we don't accept video clips.
Jesus.
So I was like, wait a minute. You guys are the Webby Awards. You're celebrating innovation on the web and, moving forward and how people can collaborate, do things. And you don't even accept videos. They go, well, we have a deal with MLB.com. They're doing it. And it was simple. All they needed was just a green screen, alpha channel out so that they could put it in their background. That's it. I was like, send me the background. I can send you the 5-word speech and boom, it's done. Sorry, we can't do that. I'm like, are you kidding me? So they said, well, you could send it. I don't know if we're going to use it. And I sent it. They never opened it because I get a receipt, if they ever open the email. And so they didn't use it. And we went up there. And the thing that really upset me was we had a community that really every day went and voted and, shared it with friends. And it was a real big part of that, why we won, because we won the People's Voice Award. We beat out Sundance Channel. We beat out PBS. That's huge. And they never mentioned us during the broadcast because sometimes they would even flash logos or say other winners are. And I understand we weren't the only ones not mentioned, but it was just like, come on, guys. I mean, they had like over 400 total awards, so it was ridiculous. And it was really about them showing off their friends and celebrities and everything else. Couldn't even walk the red carpet. And I'm like, I'm a winner. I mean, you don't have to take a picture of me if I walk out there, but just let me get that experience. So, this is about celebration. So it felt a little contrived, and it felt like I was like in this. It didn't feel like a true award ceremony. It felt more like, we got this club, and you got a pass to this club this year. You won, so come and hang out with us. And that's not the kind of person I am. It's just more like, I want to feel like a part of community. We won an award. I want to share it with everybody who, brought us there, and say, hey, thanks. This is what we got. Blah 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 blah. So
loud and clear, man. But I think you're hitting the nail on the head with some of these awards things. It is a club.
Yeah. It's
totally a club. I mean, and that's why I'm not a fan of awards. I mean, to be honest with you, look, I'm not going to turn awards down. But at the same time, I know from where they come. I work at a couple different film festivals. I've been to a lot of film festivals. And it's like, I'm not going to say it's your friends and buddies, but it is subjective. This is what I'm saying. And to say that one person's film is better than another's, you can love a film, Andy, and I may not love that film, but I don't disrespect that film, and I may love a film that you don't think is the best film. Why decide that? Why do we have to decide that?
Right. Yeah. And that brings me to like the LA Web Fest, which I really enjoyed a lot, and it's inspired me to. I'm contemplating, and I'm not sure if I'm going to do it or not. It's on the tip of my brain. I've been wanting to do like a Southeast Web Festival. And what they did was pretty much, they gave out like over 100 awards. They had over 150, they screened over 150 shows, and it was amazing. The production value was great, but everybody got an award. Like anybody in reality pretty much got an award. We got an award. And it was appreciated, It felt good, and everyone looked at each other going like, yeah, they were recognizing that you did a good job. Bottom line, that's it. Like, you did a really good job for us to say this was an outstanding web series. And it wasn't like we won the total thing, and it wasn't that. It was more like, recognizing my peers and going like, yeah, you did a great job also. That's fantastic.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So take me now to, you mentioned that you're a busy man, Nick, and that's great, especially since you're a freelancer. I mean, you have your hand in a lot of events that are going on around the area. And talk about the area that you're in and the events that you are part of.
Well, I live in the center of North Carolina, right next to Chapel Hill. It's called the Triangle, Raleigh-Durham, Chapel Hill. But I actually live in a little burg called Carrboro, which is a hip little town that's full of a lot of art and musicians. And back in 2006, we started a film festival called the Carrboro Film Festival, which is always the Sunday before Thanksgiving. And this year it's November 18th. And it's a celebration of short films made by folks that have either lived in North Carolina or driven through North Carolina. That's the only rule. It has to be on. And you have to, at some time in your life, breathe the good air of North Carolina. And it's a one-day short film festival. We get an audience of 400 people. I mean, it's unbelievable. They're starved for local art of film. And the filmmakers in the area submit. We get 200 or 300 submissions, and these films blow my mind every year. I'm inspired. And that's really the other side of what I love doing, not just following my passion, but if I can help bring an audience to somebody's film that may be their first film, and they get that audience response that I was talking about earlier, man, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Yeah, I did a Converge South. They're like a kind of like a blogging conference in Greensboro. And for 1 year, they wanted like to bring in a film festival with it. They wanted to do like a South by Southwest, and it's Greensboro, so it's not going to do it. But
okay.
But I was in charge of the film festival, and that's how I met Ajit. He submitted he submitted about 6 videos, and each one I was just like, my God, this is amazing work. And,
yeah, he did Great work.
Yeah, and it opened my eyes to really it opened my eyes to bigger to the community that we had in North Carolina, and that's how we became friends. And I was just like, just by witnessing and seeing other people's work, I was just like, I want to work with these people. As about 10 years prior to that, I didn't want to work with like any filmmakers. Like I wanted people to work with me, come help me with my idea or do what I say kind of thing. And
right.
I humbled so quickly when I got out in the real world and realized that I was just like, oh my God, I got such a small mind. And
what's great is I just shot, Ishmael Abdukalik and I just shot a film for a new filmmaker who's also a playwright. He wrote a great little conspiracy theory film, and we shot it in 4 days. But, I didn't know this guy from Adam, but I knew he had talent. I read his script. So I shot it. Ishmael lit it, and we got a couple other folks involved. And I'm in the middle of editing it right now. And it's not only am I enjoying the process, and this guy's going to get a great film out of it. We're all being creative together. But in addition to that, I've never stopped learning. I learned a few things, and I'm still learning while I'm editing. So, and that's a process that I wouldn't have gotten if I'm just doing my own thing.
Now, how did you meet him?
It's one of those networking things. He contacted me. I also work at Full Frame Documentary Film Festival, which is a doc festival here in Durham.
That's one of the biggest documentary festivals in America.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And I'm a teacher. I instruct inner city at-risk kids every summer the art of documentary filmmaking for 5 weeks. And I've been doing that through Full Frame and Duke University for a couple of years now. And because of that, they have a long reach. And somebody somewhere was saying, hey, I want to make this gentleman's name is Paul Sapp. And he said, I want to make a film. Do you know anybody that's, a filmmaker, a cameraman, whatever? And I don't even know who turned him on to me, but basically I got an email, and that was about 6 months ago. Then the ball started rolling.
That's great. That's what I love too, is reaching outside. Well, I wouldn't say reaching, but he contacted you, and you could recognize a good script when you read one, and that's something I have yet to experience. Working with someone who's come to me and said, "Hey, here's a script. I'd love to shoot it." But that's something I'm really looking forward to, because my writing is pretty limited. Like, I know some things in life, and it doesn't translate well to a lot of people. I have a very dark sense of humor.
Yeah, I understand. You should just continue writing, though, man. And then what I do, and probably my friends hate me for it, is when I write, I have no pride. I'll email Steven. I'll email Ajit, Todd. And I'll say, hey, would you read this script and tell me, how crappy it is? And then give me some good ideas, and I pound it into submission before I start shooting. And I'm a big believer in rewrites, but I'm also a big believer that everybody has something to say. So you just do it, but then you got to, figure out how to format it right, But my films, just as you may or may not be aware, is I am a true believer of the 3 films you make: the one you write, the one you shoot, and the one you edit. Ben Pickle is nothing like it was on the script.
Huh.
The final film, definitely.
Now, was that that was your concept?
Pretty much every film that, yeah, I wrote that and shot it. I directed it and edited it. Ishmael shot it. Yes, I wrote that one. I write most of my films.
The thing I really liked about Ben Pickle was the imagination that was in there from like a kid's perspective.
Yeah, me too. I said, I'm going to throw everything in here, including the kitchen sink. Let's go crazy here. What would I think if I was 13 years old and I had a summer day with my mom away, and I've got a college-age sister who I hate? And I'm just like, I think a lot of people can relate to that. They've all been 13, half of us in this world have been boys. So, yeah, he's just traveling through the day and he just fantasizes. And I don't know. Maybe I'm telling too much about myself, but doesn't everybody do that when they're 13?
I continue doing it. But I think everybody continues that too. Maybe not, at the same level. Right. But it's nice to be able to, have those fantasies and be able to play it out too, and
right.
Show people.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a real fun film to make. Absolutely.
It's interesting now. I got to tell you, I don't want to say I've been depressed, because I'm definitely grateful for everything I have. but it's kind of like I just felt like empty. It's not empty either, just kind of exhausted, I guess.
Right.
And I think that a lot of that had a toll. It has a, Often Awesome has took a toll on me where, like, every time I go into editing, it's deep. It's, brings back memories. It's, rekindles a lot of stuff, and it's hard. And we're pushing it to try to make it a TV episode right now. And we have like a TV pilot, and we're very fortunate we got it in front of someone who's really like a big time producer, but we still haven't heard back. There's a lot of stress involved, sitting and waiting patiently, but also, trying to push it into, in front of other people and keep the flame, going. And I understand how important. It's not like a thing for me saying, like, I want my stuff on TV. Sure, I do. But this is more about, like, if we can get this on TV, it would do so much good in the world.
Right.
But
right. It's that level of importance. But at the same time, Andy, you got to understand that there are times, and you're dealing with the heavy subject of ALS and Tim, which is very important and very worthy. But you do have to stop sometimes and say, listen, I need to take a break from this.
Yeah.
Because it does take a mental toll. I just did the documentary Finish Line, which actually Tim is in, thanks to you guys. And, I mean, it's about death. It's what happens when you die. I'm working on a feature documentary with a young lady who's just turned 18, whose mother died of Huntington's disease.
Oh, man.
And it's a very worthy project. And we actually saw her get tested and get the results because it's a genetic disease, and she has a 50-50 chance.
Right.
Of, in her 30s or early 40s of starting to show the symptoms of, basically Huntington's eats your brain. But the point is, these are important projects and important subjects we should tackle. But, you got to celebrate too. And
yeah.
I hope you're doing that because it can bog you down.
It's, it's interesting because Blake, both of us, we have one episode left that we just have to do, and I just need to go forward with it. And it's pretty much saying like how the community is moving forward. The nonprofit that his sister, basically built up after he passed away. It's really like kind of just finishing everything, and we're having such a hard time putting it together or even getting motivated to do it. It's just like so I just need to just psych myself out and just sit down and get it done. One of those things. But I also don't want to just get it done. I want to make sure that I put my energy and focus into it, because this will be like the last thing that you see as far as the series is concerned. That to let people know that everyone's in a good place. What Tim did inspired people to move forward and help other people, and to show people the way on, how to build a community and how to take care of people with ALS or any kind of, debilitating disease that you rely on or have dependency on other people. So it's, it's there. But where I was getting at when I first started that little diatribe was, I was watching Crazy Stupid Love last night.
Okay.
I don't know why I was watching it. It was like on a on-demand thing. And after I watched it, it was okay. Like, there were some moments I thought they were really clever, and then they fell back into really cliche moments. But there's a moment afterwards I started thinking about. I was like, it'd be a great like series, like a web series. 5-minute piece is just interviewing people about like true love, but not sitting there going like, I met my boyfriend in high school, we fell in love. Not like that. Like, it has to have something
right,
unique about it, where you overcame hurdles, or something special, kind of like Tim's story, but not that special. But just something unique, and I want to share it with the world, because there's so much, like, there's so many bad things going on, and not enough like love, and just something positive that everyone can relate to, because everyone falls in love, and everybody loves hearing a good love story, unless it's really sappy. So I'm trying to avoid that, but I just want to hear like good, unique stories, and there's so many. I don't know if you've seen like all these new proposal videos popping up all over the internet.
No, I missed that.
Oh, I gotta send you a couple. Like, there's like these dance routines that involve all their friends and families, like synced up to music. Like another one that did a trailer, like that put him and his wife. He was a director, and he basically got actors to basically reenact everything how they met, and then they did it like at a screening of another movie. They put the trailer before that, and it was so well done. Like those kind of things.
You should pursue that. I mean, you definitely should pursue that. I mean, that's the other side of it. I mean, the heavy stuff, and then, I mean, look, let's face it. What are we talking about? We're talking about life.
Life, yeah.
And that's another element of life, which is romance and love and what hopefully makes people come alive. And then we've also been dealing with these subjects of health issues and obviously death. So yeah, man, I'm all for it. Go for it. Let me know where I can help.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Well, what's your love story, Nick?
See, you doing a little what do they call it? You doing a little research right now on that?
Like I said, everyone has one.
I've been married 24 years to a great woman named Laura, and we have 2 kids. My daughter just went off to college freshman year, which has been very hard, just last week. My son is going to be a junior in high school. But yeah, we met actually at a video store in 1985, and we've been together ever since.
Dude, that's great.
Yeah, very cool, actually.
So where do you get your influences from? Like, where do you like say, hey, ooh, I want to do that? Like Ben Pickle or even The Finish Line. Like, how did you get, like, because that's such a dynamic between those two.
Yeah, that's right. One's about death and one is celebrating teenage, preteen years. You know, I think, to be very honest, I think it's in our subconscious. It's who we are, and it's how it manifests itself. I may smell something over breakfast. Really, honestly, I may see something in front of me. There may be an element in a story that I'm reading or watching as a film, and it's like, that reminds me of such and such. So let me just write this and make it broader or make it more focused. Either way, and I just go from there. I think and I think filmmakers or writers are like this. You're probably like this as well, where even if you're not keeping a little journal and writing down little notes, even 3 or 4 word notes like, little girl gives flowers to old woman in park. If you're not writing those down, I'm still nesting those away in my brain.
Yeah.
And then I'm waiting for the opportunity for those, what I call bits of business, to be included in like whatever my next story is or an upcoming story. And sometimes it may take 10 years, quite honestly.
Yeah.
That's an honest answer of where it comes from. It's not like, I wake up every morning and I think really hard. I think, it just happens when it happens. The creative brain is always on, So
yeah, it is always on. Well, especially if you're a freelancer, you got that business side too that's always on.
Right.
So as far as the documentary film festival, Full Frame,
yeah.
How did you get involved? And being a part, I see. It's interesting because I don't know if I did something similar to what you do in the summertime with you. You're saying, is it troubled youth? You said.
Yeah, at risk inner city kids.
Okay.
I wouldn't call them troubled. These kids are awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids are just like you and me, and it's just what a gas it is. And these kids are so quick. I mean, honestly, I'm not joking. The second day of class, we were actually fired up the camera and doing interviews.
That's awesome.
And they're learning everything from audio, camera, lighting, interviewing skills, producing skills. And at the end, they make their own film. They decide what they want to make a film about. And then they actually call whoever the subject matter might be, and they set up some interviews and B-roll. And then the last week they edit it. And then we have a premiere at Duke University. So it's great. It's really rewarding. I'm very fortunate. We had a little debriefing last week over at Full Frame. And, I just had to say, listen, I appreciate it. I mean, I know I bring a lot of skills. I actually get to do this with my buddy Todd Tinkham. He's the co-instructor with me. So we get to spend 5 weeks together with these kids and, be real creative and productive and teach. But, it's sponsored. It's funded. And, I would probably do this, don't tell them, for money. But the truth is, I'm very fortunate that not only that, they they get sponsors. They go out and they get sponsors because the community also sees the importance of it.
Absolutely. Do you do a showcase after they get everything done?
Yeah. This year we showed the two films. They helped me on a film that I had been working on. They actually were my crew for some interviews. They did the interviewing as well for a documentary, a very heavy documentary about a jazz singer who has had some life experiences that has been very challenging. He's a convicted felon for drug dealing, and now he's come back and he's clean and he's playing jazz again. So the kids also learned about, his story, which is important. It goes beyond just making films. It's learning about other people and what to do and what not to do in life.
That's
But
right.
they also then did a documentary. This was totally their decision and their idea on a snow cone stand up in North Durham. And it's great. I mean, I'll send you links to them, but it's just the kids are great. So we did a showcase afterwards at Duke University Center for Doc Studies there, and it was packed. I mean, literally, it was standing room only. It was great.
That's fantastic. What are some of the things that you learn from your students?
Well, first of all, I learned that how freaking fast they pick up things. That blows my mind because they all are so savvy with computers nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
I also learned that, these people with the kids, maybe anybody, within a day or two, if you're in this intense environment, a real, pot boiler of learning and being creative and having a lot of fun, they pick up on things. They pick up on things and work helpfully as a group. These kids didn't know each other. These 10 kids are from all the different schools in Durham County. So, there's basically one from each school, basically. And so they came together and they related together and they helped each other. And it was wonderful.
That's great. And I mean, that's what it feels like. A lot of communities need more of that.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it.
Because you could, as amazing as technology is, it could really lead you to become, you could be relied on just being alone for a lot, and still reaching out to people. But in reality, you're pretty alone. So
That's right.
I really hope there are more programs like that can, blossom. And, that's given me some ideas. Maybe I should get off my ass and do that down here.
Well, it's great when you have people that see that need and people in positions. I mean, to put it bluntly, people that are in positions that have the ability to pick up the phone and call a GlaxoSmithKline,
Yeah.
or to call Duke University, or to call whatever your Capital Broadcasting, whoever your big media outlet is, and say, listen, we need some help. We need some equipment. We need some space. We need some money. We need some promotion. We need some attention, and because the folks over at Full Frame see that need to help the community and to help kids be exposed to something that they would not be exposed in their normal curriculum or their normal everyday life, because there is no other filmmaking doc camp in the area. I mean, to be blunt, and these kids can't afford it anyway, even if there was, and it was a fee. This is totally free for these students. I mean, it's great. Just really, I'm honored to be a part of it.
It's interesting because there's sometimes I have ideas like, why did I go to school for, this, where I, because all that money I spent into that. And I understand it was a great experience across the board for many reasons. And I never think like that. That's just sometimes I go, why did I spend? But the thing is, like, I see, like, for example, like CBS or NBC, I'm like, why don't you guys create your own college university where you can train individuals on how to shoot, like production, everything else, and then just start taking them out of there when they graduate and start using them in your, if you're that big of a company, you have people trained in the ways that your equipment, everything else. Now you pluck them. You have a reality show that you're shooting, and I understand, production companies do that, and then they just hire them, but there's also a lot of in-house stuff that they do. And it would, as a filmmaker going to school, it would be like, instead of me spending a lot of money, and then coming out and then buying equipment and everything else, this would be a great opportunity to just go right into the workforce and learn. But these are my high-minded ideas that will never happen.
I hear you. I hear you loud and clear. I come from the other side of it, where I never went to school, like a 4-year school. I went to NYU for technical certificate in filmmaking. I did a lot of cable access work to learn how to, my trade, and I did obviously all that for volunteer and for free. And you're right. I mean, there's not enough of these working internships or programs that you're right. I mean, a buddy of mine is a technical director up at NBC, and he lives in Florida, but he drives up or flies up to 30 Rock for 3 days a week. He does sports. He does the Today Show. He does Saturday Night Live. He did the Olympics in London. And I remember vividly, I met him at film school in 1993 at my summer certificate program at NYU. And I remember vividly, we were talking about, hey, what are we doing after this? This is 1993, 1994. He goes, well, I'm going to get in with NBC, but they want me to do 2 years at QVC.
Huh.
So he actually was told by NBC, it's like, you need like 2 years, like the Home Shopping Network type thing. And that's out in Prussia, Pennsylvania.
Oh, yeah.
West of Philadelphia.
Is that King of Prussia or?
Prussia, that's it.
Yeah.
I was thinking Prince of Prussia, but you're right, it's King of Prussia. Anyway, it's it's a humongous warehouse by an airport, which of course they get the they sell something, they put it in a box, it goes immediately on the airplane. He did that for 2 years. He hated it.
Sure. I can't imagine anyone loving that.
Joan Rivers comes in hawking her jewelry, whatever. But the point is, 2 years later, and now 15 years later, he's still at NBC.
Now, how important is it for you to, or better yet, let me switch the question. What's the most important thing that you're missing as far as a filmmaker is concerned?
I think the only thing I'm missing, quite honestly, because I have a really fortunate deal going here with my own business, and I'm able to make my movies and I'm to work with who I want to work. The only thing I'm missing is the audience. I really would love to have people, I'm talking like a national release film. That's really a dream, and it's just because I think that some of the things I'm doing and some of the things my friends are doing and we're doing together are worthy. And if we had more money, we'd have a larger budget so we could just make everything better, maybe a little more polished, maybe a little more accessible. I don't want to say the word mainstream, but I do want to say something that could get a larger audience in theaters. I don't have access to that. I don't know how to do that. I actually hate playing that schmoozing game. So when I go to festivals, I enjoy myself. I'm not looking for a distributor, and I know I'm doing it all wrong. I should be people, because that's what you want. You want people to see your film, not just 100 people, but it'd be nice to have a few million people see your film. And it's not for ego. It's for the sake of, that's why I made this, so people would see it, just like Often Awesome. You want people to see it so they can be moved or maybe even take action from what you've created.
Yeah, and it's not natural, for me as well, to be in that kind of mode where, I have to go and find the people to talk to and to push it in front of, and I made a conscious effort when I was up at Vimeo to be able to talk to people, not networking, but to, meet people who worked at different, organizations, to not schmooze, but just to get in front of, to talk about Often Awesome. And, I know I didn't get in front of the right people. And that's, I think, an important part for all of us filmmakers is to really understand or find somebody who's a brilliant social media specialist.
Exactly.
That can.
I agree with you. And how did that feel, Andy, when you're forcing yourself to talk about your thing when everybody there just wants to talk about their thing?
Well, luckily people were asking me because, we won the web series category. So it was a different, it was very different because people were coming up to me going like, yeah, that was an amazing web series and congratulations. So it was a little bit easier, but otherwise, it was, but there were some points where I was hanging out with the grand prize winners who won the whole thing. and like no one would even pay attention to me, and they were, or even look at me. And it wasn't about that. It was more like, how do I, cough or get involved in this conversation about, distribution or, even TV, TV pilot. And it was uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable. It's not natural. But at the same time, I realized that, I'm in a certain situation that I have to do it because I don't want to go back to North Carolina or to South Carolina because you're not around those people. We just don't have, people don't look at us in North or South Carolina. Only when something happens or if we get like national exposure, then it'll get turned on us. But, they don't turn down here every week to see what's going on. So, it's difficult. And to be honest, I hung out. I had a great time. I networked with a lot of really cool individuals at Vimeo. And my whole goal was, I want to work with some of these people and expand my creativity and try something new and see if we can collaborate on other projects. And one of the winners actually had a great idea. He was just like, why don't we take all the money, the grant money that we won, and put together a production company and call us the winners?
I love it.
And I was just like, that's brilliant. I mean, because we had I think there were 12 categories. That's not a lot for 12 people, but I'm like, well, we can actually have a facade on the web called the winners, and then, whoever comes through, we can kind of siphon it to whoever's, good at doing this certain thing,
Absolutely.
So that's still in the back of my mind. I might have to talk to him more about that in the future, but but Vimeo was by far the best experience I've ever had. And I just saw a commercial on earlier today. It was like a Sports Center commercial where it was a vodka commercial going like, yeah, this is the days like these don't happen every day. And I'm like, fuck, you're right. And there were all these guys hanging out on a rooftop penthouse, drinking vodka. And that's pretty much what Vimeo Awards were after the after party. We went to a penthouse and, down down in the Village where like 26th floor where you look to the left, you could see the Empire State Building. Look to the right, you could see the World Trade Center. And it was just like, the moon was in a perfect, full moon perfect situation. And, I took all that in going like, wow, this is what it's like. It's nice.
I hear you, man, and you deserve it, definitely.
But the thing was like, I wish I could share that with everybody, It's like,
right.
Especially Blake. I wish he was there to enjoy how everybody complimented us on the work, because Blake works just as hard as any. I mean, he doesn't stop. I mean, he just continues to work constantly, and I know he couldn't afford it. Like you were saying, freelance work. He took 2 days off. He's missing out on a lot of money. Plus, he's spending money. So it's that.
That's right.
You have that whole turnaround, but I think it's worth it to do even one, especially a big award ceremony or a big award show like that. It's so important to get out there and just to meet people and talk and open a door of conversation for future work. Because now Vimeo is telling us, look, before we didn't know who you guys were, now we're going to be looking at you. You're on our radar. So that's why, when I do this piece about the artist down here in South Carolina, I'll put it up on our Vimeo page. Hopefully, that'll start getting a lot of hits and then more recognition and so on and so forth. So right. I think we opened a channel. We'll see, if Vimeo likes us, the next thing that we put up on Vimeo, but we're also very selective. We don't want to just put junk up there now, because if they are watching, they're going to be like, oh, they're going back to that old,
That's right. No, you're right. It's an interesting game that we play, but that's what it's all about. You're networking, you're making friends, you're making relationships, and everybody's hopefully getting something out of it, and you're creating something that folks, audience members, viewers will get out of it too. And that's why I do it. It's great.
That's why I love watching your work, because it feels like that. It's life, as you were saying before. It's enjoyable, and I could tell that you enjoy life just by the films that you produce.
Thank you.
And one last thing, like where does this documentary stand as far as you, the one that you're submitting out to?
Yeah, Sayonara to Hello.
Yeah, Sayonara to Hello. I just can't.
It's a hard one.
Yeah, well,
the name basically came from the fact that my friend Steve lives in Japan, and he
right.
saying goodbye to Japan and coming over to America after living over there for 14 years. But where does it stand in regards to what am I doing with it, or what?
No, just like it's interesting because like every new project that I work on, I'm like, oh, this is the greatest thing I've ever worked on, and and then when I sit back after 2 months after, I was like, no, actually, that last thing was like the best thing I worked on.
Well, that's a great that there is a great question. It's a very personal story. It's important to me. Technically, is it the best thing I've ever done? No. But it was a one-man band. I shot it myself. I was on the road for 30 days. I edited it with one other person, had very low budget to try to make a feature. I'm very proud of it. I hope that my next feature film, technically is better and maybe even gets a larger audience. But is it important? Yes, and I'm glad I did it. Absolutely. I think it's a film that was needed to be made, that was inside me. Parts of it were inside me for many years, and now it's out. And, if it gets some attention, and it has gotten some attention, actually, I'm going on WUNC radio next week to talk about it. It's gotten into a couple of festivals, and I'm really proud of that. And people have been responding in the affirmative regarding the inspiration of, hey, you made me want to go back and pick up my guitar,
Nice.
or, man, I never knew it was that hard to be a working performer, or working performers saying, man, that I'm a musician, but man, that film is exactly what it's like when I'm on the road. So I think we succeeded in a lot of ways. And I think it's the best documentary I've ever done. And it's my first feature. But I'm always looking to do the best I can. So do I think I'll do better? Yeah, I hope so.
I'd like to thank Nick Beery for spending time with me for this conversation. I learned a lot about Nick. I've always been really a big admirer of his work, and I'm very fortunate to be able to work with him and also call him a friend. So I hope you guys got a lot out of Nick Beery, and I hope you explore some of his incredible work. Most of his work is already online, so you can check it out, but I highly recommend you go check out Ben Pickle and invite your preteen to watch it. It's a lot of fun. Thanks for listening to this episode of Talent Freaks. Nick's passion for storytelling and his dedication to the craft of filmmaking are truly inspiring. His ability to capture the essence of life through his films resonates with audiences around the world. To explore more of Nick's work, visit beerymedia.com and check out some of his acclaimed films, including Ben Pickle. That is one of my favorite short films ever. If you'd like to get to know my work, visit talentfreaks.com to see some of the videos that I've worked on, as well as the photography that I'm currently doing and so much in love with. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and rate the podcast. It truly helps others discover these incredible stories. Keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.